This is why when Jesus came, He came with two telltale signs. In the Old Testament, God said, I'll prove myself to you by this promise, I am the God that healeth thee. And everywhere Jesus went on the planet, He was healing Jews. Remember that? And when Gentiles come to Him, He took a step backwards and tried not to heal. And the Gentile would say to Him, what's the Syrophoenician woman say? I got a daughter at home that needs healed. And Jesus goes, what's that to me? Do I give the bread meant for the children to dogs? And the woman goes, well, even the dogs get to eat some of the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And Jesus says, that's what I'm talking about. Now that's faith, you get it. But I read that for years and went, why doesn't He just automatically heal her? He automatically heals a bunch of rough people in the Gospels just because they're children of Abraham? Because He made Abraham's children a promise. I'll be the God that heals you. So everywhere He goes, He starts healing Jewish people. The second thing is, Israel was supposed to be taking care of the poor, the widows, and the stranger. And if you'll watch the lips of Jesus, every time He opens His mouth about what the gospel looks like, it's the gospel to the poor. What's He say? The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for He hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. John the Baptist sends emissaries to Jesus to say, ask Jesus if He's really the one or if we should look for another. And Jesus says, you go tell John the things which you have both seen and heard. And the first words out of Jesus' mouth is He says, you tell John that the poor have the gospel preached to them. And you ask him if I'm the one. Because somebody was supposed to be taking care of people that couldn't take care of themselves. Israel didn't do it, so I will. So Jesus came, jumps inside of time. God comes, jumps inside of time, and lives out the promise that Israel had failed to live out. And John the Baptist, his forerunner, says there's an axe about to hit the tree. It's not feeding anyone anyway. Jesus is on His way to the temple, asks the fig tree, wants figs off of a fig tree. There are none. He curses it. He walks right into the temple. He takes a whip and knocks tables over and says, you're messing up my daddy's house because people can't have access. He walks out. There's that cursed tree because Jesus is sending us a message. At least He is through Mark's version of that story. And that message is to say, if you're supposed to be producing fruit, produce fruit. Yeah. And if you fail to produce fruit, it's time for it to come down. And so in our text of Luke chapter 13, Jesus tells the story that we all needed reminded of. A guy has a fig tree, and for 3 years it's been visited over and over and over. And the master says, cut this tree down. I'm tired of coming to this tree and receiving nothing. Now, Bible scholars for a long time have tried to put that within an actual time frame. What's the 3 years plus the 1 year? And so they've said everything like Jesus. The first 3 years is the first 3 years of Jesus' ministry. And then that last year of Jesus fertilizing the tree is that last year on His way to the cross. I don't know. I'm not really sure about that because I don't think it fits contextually. Some have said it's the ministry of Jesus all the way up to the stoning of Stephen. Because if you'll notice at the stoning of Stephen, Israel actually starts to go preach to Gentiles. It's as if the stoning of Stephen is a rock in a pond that causes ripples. Maybe so, but I think contextually within inside of the book, the 3 years, it's just representative of something bigger, not necessarily 3 calendar years. It's representative of the fact that since John the Baptist, and really since before, God's been visiting Israel saying, where's the fruit? Where's the fruit? Where's the fruit? And Jesus comes along and says, give me one more chance. Let me pour out myself to her one more time. Let me give her everything I've got. Let me heal her sick and raise her dead. Let me feed her hungry. Let me touch the publican and the sinner. Let me change the life of the prostitute. Let me clean up the bloody issue of the woman. Let me do all of the things that Israel expects God to do. Feed them and clothe them and house them. Offer my body for them and my blood for them. And if that doesn't work, if that fails, if that doesn't do it, we'll cut it down. Because in Luke chapter 13, our original text, that 7th verse, He said to the keeper of the vineyard, look, for 3 years I come seeking fruit on this fig tree and found none, cut it down. Why does it? And we see use up, but the Greek says the word waste. Why is this wasting space in the ground? In other words, why is it hogging valuable nutrients that could be used to do something better? We should remove this tree because there's fruit that could come if we had something else planted in this place. And so I want to try to dig around it and fertilize if it bears fruit well, but if not, we can cut it down. And I believe what Jesus is telling us is that God was in the business, in the ministry of Jesus, and we've took the big 30,000 foot view. We've looked at it from the Old Testament in. And I think from the broad spectrum, what happens when Jesus comes is He comes when God is at nearing the end of His long suffering. You see, God holds on and holds on and holds on. And if you need anything in the Old Testament, if you're reading the Old Testament and you walk away and you say, boy, God sure was ticked off, I proclaim you're not reading the Old Testament through the lens of Jesus. If you read the Old Testament through the lens of Jesus, what you should walk away and say is, man, God sure is patient. And that's the message the New Testament tries to tell you of God. He's long-suffering, and He's patient, and He's enduring, and He puts up with a lot of junk, and He waits, and He waits, and He waits, and He waits, and you poke, and you poke, and you poke, and He keeps waiting, and you keep testing, and God is so patient, and God is so long-suffering. And I think the message that Jesus is sending is, there's a time when the time is up, and that fullness comes. And Paul would say in Galatians 3, at the fullness of time, Jesus came, born of a woman, born under the law. What's that mean? At the fullness of time. God's out of time. God's at the end of those 3 years. And I think Jesus is that last effort by God. He is on His way into Jerusalem. And isn't it incredible how much man views things differently than God views things? Man gets his king, he puts him on a chariot and throws a parade. God gets his king, he puts him on a donkey, and Jesus cries his way into Jerusalem. And as he's riding that donkey on the way into Jerusalem, he's weeping, and he says, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often would I have gathered you in as a hen gathers her chicks, but you would not let me." We've been down this road, Jerusalem, before. I've stood over you time and time and time again. Time's up.